What's up everyone, it's DV, and today we're going to be covering animals, the new animals update inside Roblox Islands that came with the XP updates and kind of just got left aside a little bit for my main video because I didn't have much unlocked, and so I needed to do a follow-up video on this to make sure I went into enough detail to explain everything in the animals, because there's a lot that came out with this update, especially on the animal side, and so we're going to cover that in this video. So before I begin, if you could do me a huge favor, it would help us a lot if you could hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. So with this new update, we did get the XP level system. So if you haven't watched that video, I actually show you how to get XP for every single one of these categories, and I show you some of the fastest ways of getting them. Now, the one thing I did see is a lot of comments saying, DV, there's actually the best, for wood cutting is hickory, DV, the best thing to mine is the sandstone, red sandstone on Desert Island. But I didn't really want to go into stuff that was really difficult. So like even like farming, right? So cactus is really good for farming, but you do need to get to desert, and then you need to grind a bunch of stuff at desert in order to be able to unlock cactus. You essentially need to grind combat all the way up to unlock desert, and once you've unlocked desert, then you gotta grind for the cactus seeds, which is a big pain. So again, I just didn't want to take that approach with the video yesterday. So in order to be able to get the sandstone, same thing, you would have to, max out pretty much your unlocks for combat to be able to even get to Desert Island. So I didn't really want to go through Desert Island stuff. That's why I only covered like gold and certain things that are a little bit more attainable. So in this last update, we got this new animal husbandry category. You can see here it says, animal sell price. So I'm going to tell you how you can sell your animals, how you can get the eggs, what to do with the eggs, what to use your, animal well-being kit, what that's all about, wooden trough, and pretty much, how to get more cows and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to cover all that, including how to use shears, how to get your sheep and all that. So first up, let me show you the barn. So you can go over to Talia. So let's come out to the hub. So you're probably already familiar with the animals in the game, and I'm just going to kind of show you some of the changes that came with this. So this is Talia. Talk to her. You can look at the offers, and you can see all these different things. So this is all the stuff that you can actually transact with Talia. So you can buy potions of fertility. You can sell, milk buckets. You can buy more eggs. So this is only a tier 1 egg, so you don't really want to keep buying these. You can actually breed the cows, and we're going to cover that a little bit, but they'll give you better eggs. They'll give you a tier 3 egg, and this is only going to give you a tier 1. So see right here. So it says spawn a cow with the tier 3 trait maximums. So you definitely want to breed your cows, not keep buying them, from an egg perspective. And then we got cheese, which, is not new. Then we also come over here, and of course you have your sheep spawn egg, and that is going to give you your first sheep. And then right here, we have white wool, and these things you can actually sell. So I've got a bunch, so I can actually maximize. So I got 13 white wool, and that would give me 1,500 coins, or I can go back to 1, and that's going to give me 120 coins. Or I can actually process my wool with a loom, and that will actually be worth more than double. Look at, so see, it's 120. It's worth just converting it to cloth because it's just a simple process, and you can see how much more I make. All right, so let's go back to our island, and let's assume you don't have any cows. Let's assume you don't have any cows. So first up, you're going to have an egg like this. So this is a tier 1. So you can see I've got this egg, and if what you could do is if you're breeding your cows, you can actually sell your cows, and that would be the best thing to do. Like, so if you end up with a lot of eggs, what I would recommend is go ahead and sell one of your cows. So I got this little baby cow right here, and let's go and examine him. So how do you examine your cows is using the kit. So you go to the animal well-being kit, you check that out, and then you just hit F to inspect the cow. So you can see this guy right here, he's a loyal cow, and this is where you can sell him, obviously. Now what I would recommend is wait until his cow is actually in full adult, because the price goes up. So check this guy out. This one's worth 1,100, and he's still kind of getting up there on the traits. This is actually a pretty good cow. But then you come over here to some of my older cows, and this one here is worth 1,100. This one here is worth 2,600. And sometimes the values go up. So depending on how happy the cow is, so like, see, it's kind of going down, and it's probably hungry. So, if I feed him, it might go up a little bit. So now if we inspect him, he's at 2,800, right? So he's happy. And then I can also feed him some spinach and stuff, and I can, and I can make him more fertile and stuff. So that price can go up. So you don't really want to sell a hungry cow. It's so easy to just make them a little happier before you sell them. So this one's 1189. Now it's going up a little bit. So that's how you sell them. If you want to sell your animals, you could just go to the health kit. You can get to the animal well-being kit, and you can get that here. So this is where you get your animal well-being kit. And you can see right here, it's, just costs some iron and wood. It's pretty cheap to make. The wood's kind of a pain in the butt, but it's worth it. And so that's where you get your animal well-being kit. And let's go through this information real quick. So right here it says favorites. So when you examine any of your pets, it will tell you what their favorite foods are. So I'll examine my sheep, and you can see it likes apples. So that's gonna actually make your animal happier. And each of these animals, you can see it has different personalities. So it is actually noticeable. I've been observing the personalities. Each one has a different personality. So this cow is friendly. They will bring you extra gifts. And then right here it says your cow's lazy. They sleep a long time. So So I've seen that cow actually sleep past daylight, and I've seen that one actually keep sleeping in. It was really funny. I was like, dude, why are you still asleep? And this one's lazy. So this one right here, it's loyal. They're extra happy around players and animals, but can become lonely when left alone. So, you know, you also want to give them their favorite foods when you can. See how his value is going up. So I will explain the fertility potion. So go to view offers, buy this for 1,500. And so we got this potion, right? And so what you're going to do is you're going to actually, how to use this, you actually feed this to your cow. And this will actually, if you don't know what fertility means, it basically makes it so that, you know, they can actually more easily have baby cows. So you're essentially breeding, they added breeding of cows to the game. So right here, let's inspect this one real quick again. Fertility is really high on this one. So you see it's about like right here. It's not quite the middle, but it's pretty high up. And so let's go ahead and increase this one. And so I just fed that to her, and then we're going to examine again, and this one's going to go up. And typically what happens is after you feed them one of these, they might actually drop an egg right away. I have noticed that a lot of them do drop eggs quickly. So I'm not seeing any eggs yet, but you'll just find this like egg sitting around randomly on your island. It's pretty funny. Now you're probably wondering, DV, why do you have these in cages? I will explain that in just a bit. So over here we have the wooden trough. So if you don't know what the wooden trough does, it basically makes it so you can preload food and not have to feed them, right? So I can pretty much put wheat and potatoes in. I noticed that sheep really like potatoes over wheat, and I think they just don't eat wheat because I've noticed that that's, you know, potatoes are very common for them. But so what I like to do is I'd like to give 50-50. So I like to fill up half with wheat and the other half with potatoes. Now, the one thing I will tell you, this is not good if you're trying to grind XP, because you will not get XP if they eat from this, at least as of now. And I'm hoping the game team will actually change that, because I actually thought this would give me husbandry XP when they would eat from this, because obviously this is the most optimal route, right? You would think that you would actually get animal husbandry XP from feeding them the correct way. So whenever they're hungry, they can come up here and eat, but you can only get XP by feeding them by hand. So you can only get it from manually feeding them, you know, and to do that, you pretty much put the food, like I said, in your hands, and then you just hit F to feed them. And you want to keep feeding them. And this is the best way for you to really get XP with these guys beyond, you know, going over to the honey and stuff. And if you want to see like my video on how to get a bunch of husbandry XP, definitely check that out. I will link that video in the description below. So there's a bunch of different ways you can get animal husbandry XP. So that covers the trough. And then we got the cloth loom. So I'm going to have to explain that in a minute. So these two are for the sheep. I will get to these in a moment. You do need buckets to be able to milk your cows. If you haven't done that before, I will show you how to milk your cow. So essentially what you need to do is you just need a bucket, basically an empty bucket equipped, and then you just like feeding, right? Just like feeding. Every now and then you can milk your cow. So as long as you're feeding your cow and as long as it's happy and all is good, and depending on the time of day, you can just do that and it'll create a milk bucket. So I've got 32 of those, and you can actually then go over here. Let's see, do I have a cheesemaker? I do not have a cheesemaker. Okay, so I'm gonna go craft a cheesemaker real quick, and I will show you how to make cheese. There's our cheesemaker. So with that milk, you can actually make cheese if you want to. I wouldn't recommend it because it is kind of a waste of time. You know, you don't really get a whole lot more. So it doesn't look like, it looks like it's broken. There we go. Looked like it was broken for a moment there. So pretty much what you do is you wait forever for the cheese maker, and this will fill up and eventually you'll get cheese. Again, this is useless right now. Totally useless. I would not recommend it because cheese does really nothing for you right now. At least as of this video, including foods. I don't think any foods currently require cheese either. So over here, coming back, we also have the hay bed, and then I'm going to cover the shears as part of the sheep, because these three are right here are all part of the sheep update. And then this one right here is not unlocked yet. So I'm actually up to level 40 right now, and that's going to unlock at 47. So believe it or not, the next 7 levels here are going to require the same amount of XP just about as all of these levels combined. So it's going to take me a long time to get to 47. I'm just continuing to grind on that, but it's really hard. So it's best to wait until daily bonuses are active. It looks like my daily bonus is active, and I highly recommend, you know, using that daily bonus to be able to get extra XP versus trying to do it, you know, outside of that, because it is painful otherwise. But you can see I've got the 4 times daily bonus going. And what you should also do, if you have the Robux, you can buy a boost, which will give you a 50% boost on that. And so I'm just going to buy that. It's really cheap. It's only like 50 Robux or something like that for 2 hours. And right here, you'll notice that I'm actually getting a lot more XP from these guys from feeding them. So this video will not actually cover this vacuum, because unfortunately it's going to take me probably another day to be able to even actually get the vacuum. So I might do a follow-up video for that. But based on what it does here, if it's anything like the industrial milker, it's not really needed. I actually don't think it's very important. I think this is a cool item, but I don't think it's very important to the game. So I will explain what this does once I get to the sheep, because the sheep are pretty cool. So again, we covered the sell price here. Level 2, you get your first cow. So now one thing I will warn you right now, do not go out and buy a bunch of cow eggs. eggs, you're gonna have a bunch of eggs that you cannot use because there's a limit on how many cows you can have at once. So right here, you can only have 1 cow. And then once you get over here, you see this right here, +1 max large animals. This actually counts towards sheep too. So even though it shows the cow, this is for, in general, sheep are considered a large animal as well. So I think what they're planning on doing is small animals later. So that's why they have maximum large animals, and they're probably gonna have a separate limit for small animals. That way you don't, hit any limits there. And so you do need to unlock the max large animals in order to be able to get another cow, basically. So, but don't go buying like 20 different cows because you're gonna, or even sheep once you unlock that, because you're not gonna be able to actually place them on your island. So you do need to, stay within your limits, and then you do unlock more slots as you level up. So you can see we got another one there, and we got another one down here, and then we got another one down here, and then we got another down. So you can actually have a lot of animals on your island. And then, later on, obviously level 6, you get this honey press, which, you should be familiar with. If you haven't checked out that bee update video that I did a while back, that'll explain the honey press and honey jar. Cheese maker I just showed you. The hay bed we've talked about. The firefly wall lamp is just a, it's just a light that you can unlock. Same for large display case. That's for storing your fireflies. These plus stocks. So this just means a limit on how much you can actually store inside your inventory at once. And then at level 21, we unlock the sheep, which is really cool. So check out these sheep down here. So I got one in here somewhere. There he is. So he's right here, right? So let's go ahead and cut this down. So he's sleeping right now. And see his coat? See this, see how it's all white? You can actually trim this for wool. So you can actually shear it for wool. So I've got my shears, and while it's sleeping, I'm gonna shear it. So look at it. It's so funny. Dude, it's so funny. So he basically, has this wool that you take, and the wool looks like this. So it looks like snow. So this is wool right here. And what you can do with that wool is come over here and go over to the loom right here, right? So cloth loom. And you can just deposit that wool in there, and it will actually make cloth. So, and like I said, when you go to Talia, you can actually get a lot more coins. Right now, cloth doesn't do anything. You can't use it for crafting or anything. I think it'd be cool if we could actually use it to craft stuff, but right now you can't really craft stuff with it. So right now it's just a merchant item that you can sell to the merchants to make some coins. So you can see it's going to take a little while for it to process. It just takes a while. And so you just basically leave that running for a bit. And then in order to be able to, pretty much refill their fur, look at him, he's like, dude, where'd my coat go? You need to feed them. So just feed them, I think it's like twice, and then they will get another coat. So we'll get their coat back for them, and just keep feeding them potatoes. In order to be able to get your first sheep, I should have mentioned, you just go to Talia again and you buy that egg, and then you just, deploy it to your island. You just basically use the egg. It kind of looks like this potato. Literally looks like this potato, but it's white. Let's see, do I have an egg? Yeah, here we go. So it looks like a potato, right? I'm just kidding. But you can see all you got to do is this. And you see, if you don't have enough space for your animals, you're going to get that error. In my case, I've got a lot of cows for a reason. I could actually put another sheep, but I would have to sell one of my cows to put more sheep. And that might be a good way to make some money. So I'm actually going to go and make another sheep here. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So when you're at your limit, this is what you're going to do. You're going to basically take your animal well-being kit. You're going to select the one you want to sell. We're going to actually sell this guy here because they're lazy. So we're going to sell this cow, and they are gone now. And then we're going to go ahead and put this sheep down. And now we got another sheep, and he doesn't have a coat, so he's probably really hungry. So let's feed him some potatoes, and then let's go feed this other guy so he gets his coat back. I think he might have already gotten it. I can't tell. Yeah, he already has his coat back. So that is how you actually deploy these. I'm gonna go and pet him again, and we're gonna feed him whenever he gets hungry. So then we also unlock wool. So what merchant offer means is basically it means I can actually sell the wool now. So that's what happened at level 21. Firefly, garden light, we don't need to cover much. We already covered the cloth loom, but that's what that does. You can also unlock at 24. You unlock the ability to sell the cloth to the merchant. And then this one was a little bit of a head scratcher, no pun intended. But this was a scratching post. So what this does is it makes it so you don't have to use the shears anymore. So you don't even need the shears. You just need to put a scratching post out. So what happens is once they have enough wool to be able to transfer to the scratching post, they will do it. So let's go ahead and feed this guy again. And he doesn't have wool yet, but this one does. So I'm going to actually put a scratching post in there with them. Let me move this one over there, and you'll see how this works. All right, so I put that in there. So he's going to actually move over to the scratching post in a little bit when he decides to. We're going to feed this little guy just one more time. See, he's going to the scratching post, and see, he just transfers his coat. So once he transfers the coat, you just enter the scratching post. You can see when it's full, it actually has wool on it like that, and just take that out. And now you got your wool. So that is what the scratching post does. Again, once it has enough wool on its coat, it will just go over there. And so he's got, look, he's got some. So let's go ahead and feed him real quick. He's going to go over there, and he just placed the wool on there. Perfect. So we just take that and extract that, and we just keep making our cloth over here. So this one, it just takes forever to make. I have to tell you that it takes forever, and it's so you can't make too much of it too quickly. So if you wanted to increase the speed, just make some more of these. So let's go ahead and make another one of these and set it up next to it. So you can just do this and then just click on there, and there you go. So that will start processing. So you can do pretty much a line of these if you want to really, like, you know, farm wool. You can. I don't think it's going to make you rich quick, but it might be just something for you to do. It's kind of cool. And then after the scratching post, we've got this industrial milker, and I'm going to show you how that works. So this is the industrial milker. It looks pretty cool, actually. So you got these, like, you know, like cow signs and stuff. It's neat. This is a crazy contraption. I was like, how is this supposed to work? But you can see here inside you put empty buckets, so you can deposit 6 empty buckets. And what happens is, you know, if I let one of these cows out, I'll go ahead and let one of these. We'll let this guy. We'll let this one out. There you go, dude. So you let that cow out, and what they're gonna do is they're gonna hop out over here. Now, if you have food for them, they're not gonna do it. But you see, he's gonna jump over here. Where are you going? Where are you going? All right, get over here. Dude, he's so lagged. See, he just gave me 69 animal husbandry. That means he just did a milk bucket. Look at, man, my server's really lagged right now. I don't know why. But you see, he just gave me milk. And so what they'll do is they'll hop on here every now and then. And it's not consistent, but here's the problem. Here's why these guys are in their corrals. Is the cows were just kind of running off, doing their own thing, right? They were all over here, they were over there, and they would never come to the milker. They would never come over here and basically put their milk into the machine. And so I wasn't able to make any milk. So I would have to still do, you know, the milking manually. So once I put them all together in here, what would happen is they would every now and then they would come over here and make their milk. But if they're too far away from it, they won't even bother with it. I noticed they wouldn't even touch it. But once I put them in here, they did. Now, the reason why I put these little corrals here, it was actually just a test to see, can we actually put them in a fence system? And you actually can. So once you actually are 4 blocks up like this, so like this fence right here, once you're 4 blocks up, they don't bother trying to get out, but they will if there's too much space. So they will actually climb over this. So if I break this down, they will try to get over it. Now, on an exception of if it's like this, they don't even bother. If it's a smaller area, they don't even bother trying to climb. But if it's a bigger open area like this with the same height, they will actually try to climb it. It's really weird, but the way to do it, if you don't want your cow and stuff to get over, you have to see how he's trying to jump over here because it's short enough for him to get in. And so as long as there's space in here, then it seems like they just continue to try to get out. But if it's a little bit kind of packed, like just kind of tight, then they might stay in here. So the idea that I had for this is to actually set up a bunch of these under their cages so that they're actually on top of this, constantly milking. Not constantly, but, you know, obviously once they're ready to milk, they would actually just be here. And so what I was thinking about doing was actually making a milk farm where you actually put each of these cows on top of this machine. So what we would do is, you know, pretty much border this all together and make it so they had to be on top of this machine. And we just drop down the milk buckets probably from stairs, and we just have a ton of milkers. And that might be an interesting way to do like an auto clicking of milk. The problem is to be able to do a truly efficient farm, you would have to constantly, you know, refill this as well, which is really the limiter. So it just isn't that great of an idea yet, but you could do it. You could make a complete dairy farm if you really wanted to do a dairy farm, but it's just going to take a lot of money and upfront investment because you're talking about an industrial chest, conveyors. You know, you're talking about, let's see, look how many sticky gears you need. You need a bunch of chests. It's not that expensive if you think about it. It's actually a cheap machine, but is it really worth the investment? I would say no, it's not, because you're not going to get that much from it. There's a lot of iron involved with making buckets. So this is really just something fun to do. It's not really, you know, interesting yet from a money standpoint, but it is kind of fun to do. The one thing I don't have unlocked yet, which I talked about just a moment ago, is the wool vacuum. So I don't have this yet. And, you know, this is pretty much going to be the same thing, I believe, as the milk machine here. So essentially what's going to happen is once these guys are ready, instead of using a scratcher, they use this. And the only difference between the scratcher and their wool vacuum is that there's a conveyor and you can actually just store all the wool inside of a bigger thing so it's not full. So that way this doesn't get filled up too quickly, because this will fill up. You know, this ends up, I think it looks like there's a maximum of 4 here. So if you have a bunch of sheep, that's going to be problematic long term. You're going to need that wool vacuum. And, you know, for the pacing of the XP that I've been grinding, it's not too bad. But the fact is that it's going to, like I said, it's going to take me about the same amount of XP as doing 40 levels. So I'm not really going to, you know, hold back this video another day just to get that unlocked for you. You know, I don't actually even think that piece of equipment's useful yet. But if you want to grind for that, you're more than welcome to. I'm not personally overly excited about it. But here's what I am excited about is getting more animals on my island. That's pretty cool. cool. And the fact that we can actually sell them now. So if they're, you know, kind of annoying, we can actually sell the cows now. That was something that we were always complaining about. It was like, we got forced to have cows on our island. It's a bummer. We really didn't want to have a bunch of cows on our island, but we got stuck with them. And so at least these cows aren't as annoying as before too. They don't really get in your way that much. And you'll notice as soon as I open this up, they start coming over. So let's open this. So anyway, that is the animal husbandry updates. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button. And if you could do me a huge favor and click on the playlist on the right and watch a couple of those videos, that will actually help me a ton. We are on the road to 200,000 subscribers. Don't forget to turn on notifications if you haven't already. And if you're looking to trade with others in this game, definitely check out my Discord. It is at discord.gg/dbplays. I hope to see you there. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace.